Hello everybody, welcome back to another managed training session. Today we're going to be running through how to understand and review your dashboard. So your dashboard pretty much just is a bit of a basic breakdown of all of the data that it comes to regarding your properties that you managed. Now starting off with the business or the realtor name up the top, you can filter down per agency. So in most cases it's one business that people usually manage, but say for example there's potentially different sections to your office. Maybe you have a residential section, and then maybe you just have a commercial section, or maybe you have multiple offices that you own, and you cohesively manage all of the property management for those three offices. You could break them down per office. That other option to the right hand side is your property managers. So filtering down by property managers. Now if your user role in the system is just a property manager, you're only going to be able to filter down, or only be able to see, I should say, the properties that are linked to your name in the portal. Starting off with the first thing that you're going to be able to see is your arrears section. Now this isn't the only way that you can review arrears in Manage. I will show you the additional two ways that you can review them, but this is a bit of a breakdown of the arrears. Now as you can see, they are columnized based on the different date ranges. So at the moment I have a tenant in arrears within the 4 to 7 day range, 15 to 13 and 60. I can hover over the column and it's going to give me a number of properties that fall within that date range. Now, because they're all one, they're going to be the equal column size, but say for example, I had 5 tenants in the 4 to 7 day period, that column will get a little bit larger, so I know, and then the other two will get a little bit shorter. So that can give you also a bit of a prediction in sort of saying, okay, where are our tenants in arrears and what is that sort of most day range period? If you were to click on any of these columns, it will open up in an additional page showing you which street addresses, tenants, and how many days they are in arrears. Now, like I said before, this isn't the only way. Now, if you are an admin user, you have the ability to search your arrears under the snapshot category of reports. So you can filter by agency or property manager to get your snapshot. And then it's also going to give you a little breakdown of how many tenants are in arrears. Another way is going to the action center, coming to your type, selecting arrears, and then filtering it down. Again, you can do just yourself or everyone in the business. Next is your My Property section, which is broken up into 3 categories. So firstly, it gives you that total of how many properties that you have listed under your name in the account. Then the color variations are yellow being vacant, blue pending, green leased. Vacant just means it's an added property into the system. Your owner's there, but you haven't got a tenant in there. It might be a brand new property coming to market, or it might be that a tenant has recently vacated the property. Pending is pretty much the point of which you've added the tenant data into the system, but you haven't activated. And usually that falls in regards to sort of having a property that's on the market for rent. Maybe you have agreed on an application, you've started to enter the details in the system, but maybe the lease hasn't been finalized yet, or the bond hasn't been finalized yet. So technically you can't activate their profile until those things are tied up. But as soon as you click the activation button, which if you go to our other video regarding how to add a lease into the system, you can see what that activation process looks like. The green, which is the lease, just pretty much means that that has an active lease agreement for the property. And yeah, you can hover over them again and it will show you the different numbers that fall under the different categories. Your My Leases tab is broken up into 3 color codes as well. So current is green, blue is periodic, and yellow is expired. Now current just means that they are in a lease agreement. Periodic and expired can kind of interchange with each other. Pretty much periodic when it comes down to managed is a little button that you click in the lease tab of a property, sort of marking the status or marking the fact that this lease agreement is a periodic. And usually that potentially comes down to the fact that the lease has expired, but the owner and the tenant have agreed that it's going to be on a month-to-month periodic basis. Whereas the expired color, so the yellow, you might use that in reference for the fact that, oh, it's an expired lease, no one's done anything, maybe it's a terminating tenant, or maybe we have accidentally missed signing a lease renewal. That's sort of how I would decipher the different sort of color codes is, you know, green is green is current, blue is periodic, so it's been marked in the system that it is supposed to be on a month-to-month lease agreement, and then yellow is expired. Coming over to the right hand side, you've got 4 color codes for your expired leases. So this just goes to show the different properties that have expired leases and then at which date range they expired ago. So 0 to 30 is green, yellow is 31 to 61 days that they expired ago, orange 61 to 90, and then red is 91 plus. Again, all of these things you can hover over and get the number, but you can also click on the little tabs and then can get the actual export of the data as well. Coming down below, you have your upcoming leases, again broken up into 3 categories. This one's a little bit reversed, whereas your 91 plus days that are expiring, or your leases that are expiring in 91 plus days, is green. 61 to 90 days they are expiring is yellow, 31 to 60 orange, and then 0 to 30 is red. This is a great way to check in on your upcoming lease renewals. Keep in mind that the system does generate a lease renewal task 90 days in advance, which you can find under the Action Center. So any lease renewal task you can find by searching lease renewals. You can just filter that down, but they are marked under a draft status if they have been created 90 days in advance. Keeping in mind that when it comes to leases, making sure that you're updating the dates in the system and closing off the tasks if that lease renewal has been completed. Finally, you've got your rent reviews, which is broken up into 3 color codes. So you've got upcoming, overdue, and no date. Now, when you add a lease into the system, you're going to notice that there are 2 scheduled activity options. The first one is going to be your routine inspection, and the next one is going to be your rent review. So if you're wanting to add in rent review tasks for your properties, when it comes to that section, if you've set up that activity, the data is going to show either under the upcoming or overdue status. The no date status pretty much just means that those properties, no one put in a rent review task, therefore there might be that ability that it is getting missed a rent review. When it comes to the overdue section of your rent review tasks, it's always just really important that as soon as you've completed a rent review, now you might have popped in a rent increase in the system, just to mark off the rent review task as completed. If you have set up it to be a reoccurring option or a frequency to be like a rent review every 6 months, if you don't complete the task, the system isn't going to recognize that that next initial one has to be created. Therefore, it's not going to do so. So just a bit of food for thought when it comes to adding in rent increases into the system. If it's paired with a rent review task, just close that rent review task so that the system knows I need to schedule another one based on the initial frequency that was set in the system. That is a bit regarding the dashboard. Of course, if you've got any further questions regarding the different data, you're more than welcome to reach out to our support team, which you can check and chat to with our chat icon in the bottom right hand corner.